Hey guys, so guess what? I am almost done with my book, which is so exciting. Oh, interesting. I hate the fact that like computers sync now to like texts and Twitter because I'll be trying to do something and I'll just constantly be like bombarded by my notifications. I feel like I don't even have a choice into like what I get to pay attention to. Anyway, you could possibly be in my book. You could be a published author, if that's what you're into. So stay tuned to learn more about that. Before I tell you more about that, I'm first going to plug Grace and I's show tomorrow on Kamcord. We're going to do a show tomorrow on Kamcord.com. It's just a live streaming site. It's spelt with a K, Kamcord. If you want to follow me on Kamcord, all you have to do is go to Kamcord.com and then in the search bar search Ashley Mardell. It's one word, ASHLEYMARDELL. I should be the only person that pops up, and then you click the plus sign. You can only follow me if you have a Kamcord account. It takes 2 seconds to make a Kamcord account. If you make a Kamcord account, you can then follow me, which is cool, because that's what I would like you to do if you want to, as well as participate in the chat. It's going to be really fun. Kamcord does this thing. I sound so pluggy, I hate it. I'm just explaining to you what Kamcord does. It does this thing where you can, like, see me as well as exactly what I'm doing on my phone, so Grace and I are going to be, like, opening Snapchats from you guys and following people on Instagram and looking at your guys' Instagrams, so if that's, like, a thing that you think maybe sounds fun, go to Kamcord.com, Kamcord with a K, search Ashley Mardell, click that plus sign next to my name, make an account, meow, 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 meow. The live show is going to be happening tomorrow, probably at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So, there you go. Now, I'm going to be talking a little bit about my book. So, chapter 1 of the book is almost complete. Chapter 2 of the book is also very much complete. No, oops, that was wrong. Chapter 2 of the book is also significantly a lot complete, but not totally. It is much complete, but not completely complete. And there are 2 chapters, so that means that the book is almost done. But right now I'm looking to finish and really polish up Chapter 1, and Chapter 1's focus is sexual and romantic orientations. And one of the ways that the book is modeled, this is like a total spoiler for the book. You would probably assumed this. This is probably something you already inferred, but it follows like the ABCs of LGBT series in as far as structure goes. So a lot of the book is spent like naming a term. So we'll say, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Something that I'm going to do before I publish the book is learn how to pronounce all of them correctly, but I haven't gotten to that yet, because all I've had to do is research them and write them, a lot of them. And I know how to pronounce a lot of them from, like, past experience and just being involved in the LGBT community, but some of them are very new to me. Like, a handful of them are very new to me, and I don't totally know how to pronounce them. So, for example, andro or masexual, and I don't know if that's masexual or masexual, but androsexual or masexual or masexual, I don't know how to say it, but they're the same term. They're 2 different words for the same term. And it essentially means an attraction to men or masculinity. So the book would like say andro / masexual, and then it would define it, and then a lot of the times it provides examples, and then sometimes it even has a story and a face from an actual person who actually claims that identity, which is really cool, because I think putting a face and a person and a social media account behind these identities kind of validates their existence and humanizes them. They're less like textbook terms, and they're more people. So it's cool. It makes them feel more real and more personal and more accessible, I think. So that's why I'm linking a lot of the identities to people. And what I'm doing is I'm asking people to write about 200-word blurbs about the word, and about what the word means to them, and about what it's like identifying with the word. So, some of the words that I either don't have people for, and not every word has a person, but a lot of the words do have people connected to them, especially some of the words. So like lesbian doesn't have a person connected to it, because I feel like we all can think of an example of a lesbian. However, andro or masexual, I feel like a lot of us might not know someone who identifies that way. So I've asked my friend Josh to write a blurb about what that identity means to him and what identifying as androsexual means to him. For anybody in the comments who's about to say andro is a problematic prefix, yes, some people feel that way. It is talked about in the book, so sorry if that upsets you. Meow meow meow, it's covered more extensively in the book. If you want to learn more about why some people feel that, you can Google it. That's just not what this video is about, though. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, yeah, and so, like, maybe you read the word and you're like, holy crap, that kind of feels like me, holy crap, and there's another person who also feels this way, I'm not alone, and then, like, if you felt so inclined, I link everybody's social media whenever they contribute something in a footnote, so, like, you see the footnote by Josh's name, and you go down to the bottom of the page, and then it has his link, so you could go, like, follow Josh on Twitter, and then, if you were so inclined, you could ask him a question about identifying as androsexual, and I will not guarantee Josh will answer. He could be very busy and not. But maybe it's just helpful to see tweets from him, even if they have nothing to do with androsexuality. Maybe you're just like, cool, there's a person who identifies as androsexual who lives a totally normal, happy life, and I'm watching it happen live on his Twitter. That's so neat. So that is kind of the goal, and that is the purpose, and that's the reason the book is the way it is. Meow. Okay, so again, not every word has a person, but I'm going to now read a list of words, and some of them will be pronounced incorrectly, of identities I do not have people for that I potentially could be looking for people for. So if you identify this way and have a YouTube channel, leave a comment. Say, me, I identify as blank, and then I'll check out your YouTube channel and contact you if I think you could be a good fit. And when I say YouTube channel, I mean at least one video. You don't have to have 50,000 subscribers. You don't even have to have 100 subscribers. You just need at least one video. Then you're a YouTuber in the sense that I'm using the word YouTuber right now. So, if you are a YouTuber who identifies as demisexual, same gender loving, nomasexual or nowoma sexual, flux, as in biflux, polyflux, omniflux, as far as orientation goes, not gender. I'm not looking for gender flux people. I already have someone for gender flux. I'm looking for sexual orientation flux. So polyflux or biflux. Spike, novo, or pomo. So again, the list is, and this could also be romantic. You don't have to identify with this in a sexual way. I keep using sexual, but romantic orientation can also apply to these. So maybe you don't identify as demisexual, but you identify as demi-romantic, then you would also qualify for this. So, again, that list is demi, noma, or nowoma, same gender loving, flux, spike, novo, or pomo. Now, if you don't know what those words are, I am going to give a very brief definition of them. The definitions that I'm going to give in this video are going to be incomplete for brevity's sake. If I gave very in-depth, comprehensive definitions of these identities, this video would be 100 jillion years long. If you want to learn more about these identities, you should absolutely do some research, or perhaps check out the book. Not that I am not a total authority on what these things mean. Also, these identities have different interpretations based on how different people feel about them or apply them to themselves, because I'm a strong believer in self-identification. So I think that it's very possible that one person's definition of these terms could be different than another person's definition. Also, if you feel like I did leave out a very important, oh my gosh, it's so annoying how careful and cautious you have to be about some of these things, I will not lie, but I get it because it's all about inclusivity and making people feel comfortable and safe, but it is a lot. Anyway, Boop-a-boop-a-boop. If you think I left out an important component of these definitions, feel free to add it in the comments. I think that would be fantastic. Be like, hey Ash, you totally forgot about blah, and then I'll probably reply and say, thank you, you're totally right, I absolutely did. So, here are some very brief, basic, simple versions of the definition of these words if you're not familiar with them. And the reason that I am sharing these with you is because perhaps you do identify with one of these words, but simply did not know it existed yet. So, boop-de-boop-de-boop-de-boop. We will start with pomosexuality because I think it's ironic. And a ton of you are probably thinking, man, labels, labels, labels. Labels are super annoying. Why does everybody have to label anything? Well, then a label you might like is pomo. People identify as pomo aim to challenge the way society views gender and sexuality. Many believe that labels feed into and perpetuate our culture's current norms and assumptions about gender and sexual minorities. So, other pomo people feel like labels are simply unnecessary, irrelevant, or outdated. Other pomo people are simply indifferent about labels. So, pomo people essentially don't label themselves. They don't like labels and they don't label themselves, which is super ironic because pomo is a label. So pomo is a label for people who don't like labels, which I really like. I dig it. Because I get I think it's super ironic, while at the same time I don't think it's ironic at all. So, but I'm not going to go into that because this video needs to continue. Demisexuality demisexuality / romanticism is when somebody only is attracted to another person once they have formed a strong emotional bond towards them. Flux means that a person's intensity of attraction, or the intensity at which they experience that attraction, fluctuates. So, for example, if somebody was biflux, or their preference fluctuates. Oops, sorry, I just defined that totally incorrectly. I was defining gender. It kind of is the same. Anyway, but flux is when your preference or which one you are connected to more fluctuates. So, for example, a biflux person might only be attracted to men and women, but their preference will fluctuate. So, if you're biflux, maybe you're really attracted to, you're predominantly very much attracted to men one day, and the next day you're predominantly very attracted to women, and you want this fluctuation affirmed and acknowledged in your identity, and that's why you could label yourself biflux, as opposed to simply bisexual. Novosexuality is, I'm gonna half. So novosexuality, was... Okay, so novosexuality is... It was an orientation that was created for gender fluid or non-binary or multi-gender people. And it's essentially when a person's orientation changes based on the gender they identify with. So, for example, when they feel like a woman, maybe they identify as a lesbian because they're only attracted to women when they're a woman. But then other days they might wake up and realize that day they are in fact a man. And then they might identify as a gay man because when they're a man, they're only attracted to men. So it just acknowledges that your sexual orientation can have a relationship to your gender identity, and it can change as your gender identity changes. And I just said sexual orientation, but I meant sexual / and or romantic orientation. A lot of the things that I'm saying are probably riddled with teeny tiny flaws that you could nuanced flaws that you could just probably critique the shit out of my language right now, and you're probably right. It's really hard to talk about all of these terms in a super accurate, super complete way, so I apologize if I said anything incorrectly or left anything out. Okay, Spike is kind of similar to Flux. So if somebody is homo spike, that means that they would be attracted to the same gender. However, a lot of times people who identify with Spike, so for example, homo spike, a lot of times they wouldn't feel any attraction, or they'd be ambivalent about their attraction, and then all of a sudden the intensity at which they experience that attraction would spike. So they're I kind of like guys. I don't know, I'm just whatever. And then one day they're I'm so gay! Is kind of what Spike can be. It's like your attraction spikes. So that is spike. A lot of these words aren't like identities on their own. They're just either prefixes or suffixes. So for example, flux and spike are suffixes. So you'd be like polyflex or polyspike. And then some of them are prefixes. Noma or nowoma. So noma would be noma sexual or noma romantic. And it just means you're attracted to all genders save for men. Just not men. Sometimes I feel this way. Because, like, romantically, I identify as homoflexibly romantic, but some days I wake up and I'm like, I don't even know if the flexible part is there. Like, I really am mostly just attracted to women. Maybe I am noma romantic. So noma means no man, essentially. That's kind of like where it comes from. So just not attracted to men. Conversely, nowoma, nowoma romantic or nowoma sexual is not attracted to women. Same gender loving. Same gender loving is essentially a label that LGBT people of color can claim. All it means is that that person is a person of color as well as within the LGBT community. And it was a term that was created in the 1990s to engage and affirm black culture, but since then it has extended to beyond simply black culture to all LGBT people of color. I'm super uncomfortable defining this. I'm just not gonna lie. Super uncomfortable defining and including this term in my book because part of me feels super ignorant in regards to it and really white and just, not black and not like a person of color, because I'm not. I've asked a lot of people if they think it's appropriate for me to include SGL in the book, and literally this is a note by the definition. I'm so uncomfortable with this right now. I researched a ton, and this is the best I could come up with. As a white person, should I even be including it? I'm torn because, as the label intends, including it could indeed be a good way to engage and affirm readers of color, but I just don't know. Maybe I'm just so not the right person to define this term. That's why it would be super duper cool to find somebody of color who does identify as SGL to better define and explain it, because it would be about 100 jillion times better coming from them. And way more appropriate. It would be like both more appropriate and I'm sure more accurate. Yeah. Boop-a-da-boop-a-da-boop-a-da-boop. I think that's it. Oh, and then there's another one, but I think I have somebody in mind for it. But I'll put it here anyway. And then there's qua-sexual, or WTF sexual, which is an orientation on the asexual spectrum, or qua-romantic, and WTF romantic, which would be an orientation on the aromantic spectrum. And that essentially means you are not sure if you experience romantic or sexual attractions, or you can't tell the difference between the attractions that you feel, or you think that attraction is just super irrelevant to you. So you're just like, nah, pass, it's not important to me. It's not relevant to my existence, so no. So yeah, so if you identify with any of those things, and you are a YouTuber, and you potentially want to write a 200 to 300 word blurb in my book, leave your channel in the comments. Oh my god, this was a 20-minute long vlog. Say meow if you reach the end, and this time I will actually be I've done this before. I've asked you to say meow, and I'm always impressed by the amount of meows, but this time I will be the most impressed. This is the most impressive one to do it for. Okay, goodbye. Oh, follow me on Kamcord. Yep, okay, goodbye.